What if I told you that the demise of gas-powered performance vehicles was greatly exaggerated and that they are just now getting started? That the V8 is not dead, it is coming back stronger than ever. That gas-powered muscle cars are not extinct with sound bars, it will evolve even better. And what just happened over the last 4 weeks? It did not just change the rules that limited gas-powered vehicles, it erased most of them. We have all felt as though the government were trying to push us to a car that we didn't want. And if you ever watched your dream car get emissioned out, penalized, or killed off by politics, this is the moment you've been waiting for. Because what if I told you that we are entering what might be the most powerful 4 years of gasoline-powered vehicles that we have ever seen?
It forces you to make the tough calls, and we literally adjust our plans on a monthly basis based on where we see the trajectory of compliance. Ram's a really good example of that. If we had that safety blanket of buying credits, we would still be building and selling the ancient iron block Hemi V8 that everybody loves. Knowing that we're going into this environment have forced us into a space where we had to develop a whole new powertrain strategy. A very high-tech twin-turbo 3-liter Hurricane that's going to actually give much better performance and be much more efficient and more flexible in the future. We wouldn't have done that if it wasn't for those regulations. So, but the CEO, he burned our boats, and we're forced to make the tough calls to make sure that we're on a trajectory towards the long-term compliance. The bigger enabler to all of that is no one knows what's going to happen, with the regulatory environment if there's a change in administration. So,
okay, well, 46,000 friends and the 66% of you guys will keep watching these videos, but not even subscribe. Help a butter out as I try to get to my first milestone of 50,000 subscribers. Help me out, or I'll be forced, and I don't want to do this, I'll be forced to make you purr.
They've done studies, 60% of the time, it works every time.
That doesn't make sense.
Well, let's go see if we can make this little kitty purr.
But let's get straight into this and let's talk facts. Now, over the last month, 3 major things happened that flipped the entire game upside down for automakers. Now, number 1, President Trump signed not 1, not 2, but 3 congressional review acts to kill California's ability to set their own vehicle rules. Now that basically means, in a nutshell, no more CARB rules for all of us, and all of us who don't live in California, we don't have to deal with our cars getting neutered because of this one state that all of us don't live in, and we don't have a chance to vote for the people who set these standards in the first place. No more sneaky EV only mandates that aren't really EV mandates, but they set unrealistic expectations on these automakers and stuff, because they can't necessarily do some of the things that CARB asks, so that's why they're forced to make electric vehicles. And no more of these other 17 states trying to fall in line with California and set all these unrealistic expectations for these automakers, costing them billions of dollars. In a lot of ways, it's kind of making them go bankrupt. So no more of that nonsense for at least the next 4 years. Number 2 big thing that happened was the big beautiful bill that just quietly eliminated the cafe's fines. Now those were those miles per gallon based penalties that cost companies like Stellantis hundreds of millions of dollars every single time they made like TRXs or Hellcats or Demons or whatever. Those were those big MPG fines that these companies having to pay a lot of money to. And now they don't have to actually have to worry about it now, because you want to know what the new penalty is after this big beautiful bill? $0. Now, I'm not kidding about this. You can go look at section 4006 in the bill, and it literally rewrites the law to replace the fines with $0 and 0 cents. I wish it would have eliminated cafe altogether completely, but this just basically kicks the can down the road, because I promise you, somewhere down the line, some political party is going to get back in power, and I'm going to not name them because I know people are going to get triggered if I say this. But I guarantee they're going to try to get back in power, and one of the first things they do, try to sneak back in a bill to ratchet these fines back up to these automakers who are going to try to, make these vehicles that we actually want. So I guarantee you some political party in the future going to try to hide this in a bill somewhere and set those fines back probably where they was at, or even worse, to kind of accelerate the EV mandate that people did not want to even do in the first place. I'm just saying. Now, number 3, and lastly, every automaker in the United States only has to follow one emission standard, just the federal emissions rules. No more California waivers, no more this dual compliance BS these automakers had to go through. Just one standard, one rule book, easy, simple, easy, cool. That's it, just one. Now, you guys remember the last few years that these dealers had to deal with nonsense with the government and CARB, where they had to have CARB approved vehicles and non-CARB approved vehicles, right? You had CARB approved TRXs and non-CARB approved TRXs. You had a situation that Osi Motivator talked about with a customer where someone saved a ton of money by not having to buy a charger in the state of California. I don't know where I got that California from, but basically, you had people who got caught up in this nonsense. I think Osi Motivator had the same thing happen to him. Osi Motivator had bought a vehicle in I think St. Louis, whatever, brought it back to California and couldn't register in California because of a stupid stamp. So these are just some of the things people had to deal with over the last few years. I mean, you had a situation where only 4xe, Jeep Wranglers and Cherokees was getting sold in CARB states. So it was a lot of logistical nightmares that these automakers and dealers had to deal with because customers want certain vehicles, but they couldn't necessarily bring them to the state because of freaking CARB. So now all that nonsense is over, and these automakers should have the ability to do a lot more stuff now because now they are free from that nonsense. So what does this mean in the real world for the rest of us? Now, it means to me that Dodge can bring the elephants out to play. The Demon 170, for example, met the current emissions regulations 2 years ago. So now there'll be no fines or carbon credits needed, or them having to make all these EVs in order to help pay for fines, like Slams was doing with Charter Daytona to give them enough emissions credits to help pay for the Demon 170. Or similar what Ford does with the Mach-E to help it pay for the V8 Mustangs. So with all this BS out of the way, it should be time to demon everything rather than Hellcat everything. That era should be gone, and we should be seeing the demon everything era. Now, it also means SUVs or trucks like the Durango SRT Hellcat or the Ram TRX, or maybe even in the future an SRT Grand Wagoneer with a Hellcat engine. They can hit 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 miles per gallon, and nobody's gonna write that automaker a huge, massive cafe fine if they actually sell a ton of them, because that's what customers want. It means it's companies like GM, who sells low volume versions of the high horsepower cars, like their Z06s, the 01s, and 01Xs. Those days of building low volume of those cars are numbered. The company like GM should be able to build as many C8 Corvettes, Z06s, 010Xs as customers want. If customers want so many cars, there should be no restrictions, no nonsense from the government trying to tell them that they can't build it because they're not going to write a check. So it means that, hey, TRX, Demon, Trackhawk, Viper, Red Eye, all those things that you told her was dead, those things can come roaring back, and no financial penalty for Stellantis, GM, Ford. None of them got to worry about this nonsense. For the first time in decades, the automakers are off the leash, and they can make some of the wildest shiitake mushrooms we've ever seen. I don't want to say the Mr. Hanky word, but you get the point. They can make some of the most insane vehicles we will ever witness in our entire lives. These manufacturers have been silenced over the last few years. They've been sued, they've been regulated, and they've been told that performance is evil unless it is an electric vehicle. Now they have 4 years to unleash everything they wanted to, and they can build whatever they want, and no one can stop them. And, depending on if these regulation stuff gets done or who comes out in the next election, they may have 4, 8, 10, 12 years to build whatever they want, depending on who comes into power. So I'm just saying, but remember this nonsense the next time you vote, because these politicians have done this nonsense, right? They're the ones who told you couldn't have a TRX unless it was electric. They're the ones who taxed your Hellcat to oblivion, your Red Eye to oblivion, jack the prices of your Superstock, your Demon 170. Major Corvettes cost so much money. They major Mustang lose a couple hundred horsepower because there's no GC500 anymore, right? They did all this nonsense. They made your engine so unreliable because they added all this active fuel management nonsense, they activating cylinders and all this stuff, all this start-stop nonsense. All this stuff is messing with your cars, and they're the ones who put stuff in place to do this nonsense. So they made Dodge, like the nonsense that the government did to Dodge is laughable. They made Dodge put a $80,000 soundbar on a Dodge Charger. Like, that's just crazy. A Dodge Charger has a $80,000 soundbar on it. And remember, they try to take your choice away of what you wanted to drive. And all these fines and stuff, these automakers had to jack the prices up to where every car now, pretty much any performance car, costs like a daggone house. So just remember the good old days where you could literally buy Hellcats, maybe buy 2 or 3 of them for the cost of a house. But that was like, what, almost 10 years ago? Now in the last 2-3 years with a last call, you can barely afford one jailbreak Hellcat, right? But about 10 years ago, you can get 2 for the price of 1. So just saying, just remember the insane vehicles we're about to receive now that all these regulations are finally gone. So I'm just saying.
You know, we have the 4 major platforms. And if I look at the Stella Large platform as an example, it really is kind of a case study of how to be flexible. That one platform underpins, in the short term, 8 different, completely radically different cars for radically different customer profiles. And in the longer term, it will do even more. That one platform with essentially 1 set of EDMs and 2 ICE engines has the ability to cover over 30% of the industry. With all those different combinations, all those different brands, all those different customer profiles that allow you to expand the adoption of that one platform, and the ability to flex between those technologies, not across multiple cars or platforms, but flex between those technologies within one platform, one manufacturing footprint, one supplier base. Depending on whichever way the regulations go, we can flex it in that direction.
But let me tell you guys what I hope is coming over the next few years. Now, I don't want to hear Mopar or no car. I want to hear more power or no car, because a 717 horsepower Hellcat, we have been there and we have done that. A 645 horsepower Dodge Viper, we have been there and we have done that. Basically, I'm saying that Stellantis need to take all those engines, add in the red eyes, 800 horsepower, 6.2 liter high output engine, the D170 1025 horsepower engine, and the 426 Elephant aluminum engine that makes over 1100 horsepower E85. Get back in the lab, turn the power up, and turn the prices down, since there are no more fines these companies have to pay. No CAFE fines, no CARB fines, no EPA fines. All those fines are gone. The only fine that they still have to pay is they're not really even fine, it's a tax. It's a gas guzzler tax. That's an IRS actual tax that we have to pay, and that should not even matter, because if they are saving these automakers like Ford, GM, Dodge, Stellantis, whatever, if they are saving millions of dollars in fines, those gas guzzler tax fines should just be nothing. $2,000 extra is nothing if we should save $5,000 to $10,000 off of every single performance car. Because like I said, those fines they was having to pay $1 million every single year is now $0 and 0 cents. So like I said, turn the power up, turn the prices down, and pass the savings along to us. Now, I myself personally don't care if they either lower the MSRP for these new cars or give us power dollars for the next 4 years. Like, give me like $10,000 worth of power dollars to give me a good incentive to go and buy that car. So I want to see a Dodge Viper return with a lot more power and come back and slap a Corvette 01, especially pushing a twin turbo V10. And I wanted to see over 1,000 horsepower. I want to see 1,000 horsepower Chargers rolling around the streets that everyone can basically drive. It's like maybe like 80 grand, whatever, 1,000 horsepower, all-wheel drive, rolling around, and we're all just laughing at Ford with a 500 horsepower Dark Horse Mustang. Like, I want to see some embarrassing, stupidly crazy cars at great prices, because, like I said, there's no more excuses for having all these fines, right? You got my dear friend Tim Gnisses. He basically gonna just look at the Ford Raptor and say, hey, you know what? Hold my beer, because he'll come out with 1,000 horsepower Ram TRX and just destroy a Raptor R because there's no more fines. So there should be no problem in putting D170 engine in a lot of vehicles to go around and just roll around in Chargers, TRXs, and whatever car they're gonna bring out with 1,000 horsepower just to laugh at everybody else and just destroying every car everyone else has. Dodge already has the engine they already done built for D170. I want to see it in more cars. You know what? I want to see commercials from all these manufacturers that basically tell you that, hey, if you thought the last 5 years of performance was crazy, wait till you see what will come out in the next about 5 years, because you have not seen anything yet. I want to see these dudes just brag that we're going to see some of the greatest cars that we have ever seen. And you know what I'm going to do right now, what I think you should do right now? I think you guys should start saving your money right now, because these next 4 to 5 years might be the last best chance to own some of these crazy, outrageous beasts before the door slams shut again and some of these tree huggers try to block you from having these crazy cars. This might be like the holy grail era of gasoline performance, and this might be like the last call, like the true last call of pure gasoline performance. Now, I see there gonna be some, hybrids here and there, but pure gasoline cars, I think we're gonna see some crazy cars if these manufacturers actually go through and actually do it. So I'm just saying, don't miss out. Save your money up, because I think we're gonna see some crazy stuff. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Will this be the greatest era of cars, or has that era came and went? Will these manufacturers step up to the plate or miss this golden opportunity to make this new golden era performance that we have never seen before? Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. If you want to see the clues that I found in the SRT is back video that Slan's posted about the Viper returning with some crazy car names like the Plymouth and the Duster and all this stuff, you can check out this video right here. And until the next time, I'm out.